YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with Overreaction Monday here, just after most of the games in NFL Week 5. So we got a Monday night game and Tuesday night game. You're going to want to follow our Twitter. We'll be talking live during those games, giving you takeaways. And we're always doing that during the live games there. So you're going to want to follow that Twitter. Keep you updated on the NFL and the channel there. Schedule may have to change a little bit because of that Tuesday night game for the upload schedule. So we'll keep you updated there. I know the power rankings will be Wednesday instead of Tuesday, but yeah, follow that Twitter, Instagram, podcast, Patreon, trying to reach 60K subscriber goal. We usually do this video every single Monday. Plenty of other videos like this getting you guys involved. You guys send in these overreactions or statements that you think could be known as overreactions through Twitter. I got to go through a lot of these. It's getting pretty popular, so that's the good thing, but sometimes I don't get to see every single one. So I go through and try to pick out the ones that kind of catch my eye there. So appreciate everyone for playing along. Again, to get involved, follow that Twitter. But all kinds of predictions, everything, we got you covered here for the NFL on the Goat House, so I would appreciate a subscription. Patreon, link down below, extra content, even added more this last week. Junior score predictions, my locks, bets of the week. Really enjoying those so far. College football score predictions. Added some money line and against the spread picks for college football as well. Playoff predictions starting very soon. We'll update those every single week, so the Patreon members will get to see my thoughts on playoff teams and who will win each round of the playoffs. That'll start soon. It's a little early, but we're getting real close to starting those. Bonus content, Discord access, much more, always adding more. Check it out. But to the first one here, from Aaron is sus. 49ers benching Jimmy Garoppolo was deeper than protecting him, and they're trying to see if they can potentially replace him. So I thought this was an interesting one because I think the topic is here after this Week 5 Sunday game against the Dolphins, the beatdown against the Dolphins here. Did Garoppolo get pulled because he's not 100%? Did he get pulled because he was playing bad? Did he get pulled because what Aaron here is saying, are they trying to see who the right quarterback is? And I'm gonna say, this is an overreaction here, because they definitely believe that Jimmy Garoppolo is their guy for now. They definitely could be looking to replace him in the future. I won't rule that out. They're on track to get a pretty solid draft pick. I'm not saying they'll finish with that pick where they're at now. A lot of season left. I'm sure they'll get better. But if they were to go into the draft with a pick like that, they would evaluate these quarterbacks for sure. They would take a look at them. It's tough to say who would be available when they pick, but they would be open to taking one of the top guys for sure. So if you want to say they're I guess in a way this is pretty accurate. If they're trying, they could be trying to replace him in the future. But I think what he's saying here is they're trying to replace him with maybe Beathard. They're trying to see if Beathard's better than Garoppolo. I think that's an overreaction. I think they know Garoppolo is the best quarterback on their team. I don't think they benched him because he was hurt, though. Maybe in the back of their mind, they're like, yeah, maybe he's not 100%. But I think he got benched because he was just playing pretty bad. They took Mullins out of the game against the Eagles when he was playing pretty bad. Beathard gave him a shot. I think they're just not hesitant to take a guy out when he's just off. So I think that's really what it was. So I say it's an overreaction, but he brings up a good point. It's a good talking point, fresh off that game there. Garoppolo needs to play better. We'll see what happens this week. This might change, I guess, my thinking on this. If Garoppolo doesn't start this upcoming week, they may come out and say that he's just hurt, but I don't know. That's going to bring up some even more interesting topics here. From Danny here, Chase Claypool is the Steelers' #1 receiver going forward. Claypool would off a monster game against the Eagles, absolutely dominant. That's a great draft pick. Already kind of, you can't really say the guy, Claypool himself is proven, but it's a safe bet that he's really good. So that's a really good draft pick. Loved the time. I mean, the combination of physicality, speed, just knowledge of playing receiver, being able to play multiple different receiver positions. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's kind of rare. So that's why I like Claypool so much, and that's why I still love the guy here. Claypool, Steelers' #1 receiver going forward. I actually, this is easy for me, but people are probably going to think I'm overreacting. I'm going to say it's overlooked. Now, am I saying he's actually the #1 receiver? I'm not necessarily saying that. Juju Smith-Schuster very talented. Deontay Johnson, very talented. Even James Washington, very talented. I mean, Juju, when it comes down to it, probably the number one receiver. But, going forward this year, I think this might get overlooked. I think most people may just say, no, there's just no way. You're overreacting off one game. And maybe we are a little bit here, but why I say it's overlooked and why I think it's a possibility is because something I brought up. He can play multiple different receiver positions. Not that the other guys can't, but he is a mismatch problem. Putting him in the slot, putting him outside. You can put him in line if you wanted to. I don't really expect them to do it. Just got really bright in here. Yeah, so I think he's kind of the mismatch problem. I think the focus might be on a guy like Juju, which could be a reason he's the best receiver on the team. But I think Claypool, if they use him like this, that's the only concern. Was it a matchup issue with just the Eagles? Is it going to be different depending on the matchup of the team? Are they going to kind of take it easy because he's a rookie? If they're going to continue to use him like that, he will be a problem for opposing teams, and he may, a good chunk of the season, look like their best receiver just because the different things he's able to do and just because of production. So that actually could be overlooked, even though the obvious choice would be Juju Smith-Schuster there. So that's a pretty good one. Jackson Rosenthal for the Panthers here. The Panthers are legit playoff contenders, and I know this one's going to stump me here. I don't even know what to answer for this one because the Panthers look really good right now. They look really good. 3 games in a row. Tough to game plan for. Teddy Bridgewater looks really good. Mike Davis looks really good. The receiver duo looks fantastic. Offensive line is playing way better than expected. Defense playing better than expected. 7 playoff teams, not 6. Just legit playoff contenders just means getting to the playoffs. So, actually, I'm going to say this is fair. It's kind of surprising that the Panthers are playoff contenders. We're not going to call them a playoff team, obviously. Like a team like the Packers, we're going to call a playoff team. A team like the Seahawks, we're going to call a playoff team. Playoff contender. I'd say it's fair. I still think there's more to prove, I think, to a lot of people, but including myself, and there's some more to prove. I definitely believe in a lot of these pieces. I love this coaching staff as well, but continue to win. Let's beat some better teams. They play the Bears this week. It's a big, big game. So more to prove out there, so that all you got to do is go out there and win. So excited to watch this young Panthers team going forward. Looks like it could be a sneaky team here. Next, from Nick Holzenecht. Probably said that wrong. I apologize. DK Metcalf is Seattle's number 1 receiver by far. The by far part gets me. That kind of gets me. That kind of makes it a 2-parter. Let's just say DK Metcalf is easily Seattle's number 1 receiver, meaning you don't really have to think about it too much. I think that's what he means. You don't have to really think about it too much. You should know that Metcalf is number 1 receiver, and I think this is another one that is actually overlooked. I think people, even though they see that DK Metcalf is, we can call, I'm actually going to call it fact as well. I'm giving it 2 here. I think it's overlooked and a fact. Tyler Lockett's very good. DK Metcalf is, and at that point of that draft class, I was thinking this might be one of the better receiver class of all time, and then this year happened, and that receiver class is the best of all time. So we see how good these receivers are, so it's not really a surprise. DK Metcalf was in the top 15 on my board. It's a freakish dude. We talked about Claypool. Metcalf has a lot of the same abilities there, and he's kind of already been proven. He's already been doing it. Yeah, he has Russell Wilson as well, but I think he's the number 1 guy. You can see he's their go-to guy. They kept going at him, even in the game last night against the Vikings. They kept going at him. 3rd and goal, 4th and goal. He's the guy. No matter what, he's got to make that big play. And sometimes you know when things are coming with him, and you still can't stop it. You can actually tell when he's going to go downfield. He's going to get a jump ball here, and you still really can't stop it because of the speed and the physicality, the strength, all that combined. I think he's the best receiver right now. I think they think he's their number 1 receiver. And I think some people are still going to be hesitant to say that, even though they know he's dominating right now. I think they're still going to say it's Tyler Lockett. Any given time, Lockett could be, look like their best receiver, but and he's very good. But I'm going to go DK right now. Braxton Kendall, another Seahawks one. Seahawks should fire Ken Norton Jr. and hire Dan Quinn to replace him as the defense coordinator here. I like this one a lot, actually, because maybe a lot of people don't know. Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator with the Seahawks. Him and Gus Bradley ran that defense back when they had the Legion of Boom, back when that defense was elite, dominant, the best in football. They kind of invented that Leo defense, where you kind of a hybrid defense there. So, and Dan Quinn's kind of available right now because the Falcons fired him, obviously. So this is interesting to think about. The Seahawks defense, one of the worst in football. They're kind of making games interesting. Their offense did start a little slow last night, but we you know what I mean. You know, you trust the offense, not a lot of trust in the defense. So could they do this? It's actually a possibility they do this. I don't want to call it. It's a tough one. I don't really want to call it an overreaction to think about this though. I don't want to call it an overreaction if you think this, but I think it's unlikely to happen. So I don't really know what to call it. I think it's fair to think that this is a possibility, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think they realize that a lot of their pass rushers are young. Looking at last year, L.J. Collier, looking at a couple guys this year they drafted. They realized that, another guy they drafted, Jordan Brooks, is not a pass rusher, but he's obviously involved in the defense. He's hurt right now, and he can be involved in getting after the quarterback and blitzes. And then you got Jamal Adams, who missed the last 2 games. So I think they're going to trust the process a little bit. Dan Quinn has been failing with the Falcons, especially on the defense. This looked like one of the weaker defenses, and that's when he's kind of in charge, head coach, kind of in charge, putting the team together, even though he's not the GM. But if he were to be on Seattle, like he was at one point, he wasn't really in charge of putting the team together. They definitely have a trust in Pete Carroll, and definitely their front office of the talent that they have found over the years. So that would be the kind of the upside there. You're thinking about Dan Quinn. Well, you're going to be thinking he sucked with the Falcons. He did, and even though he's a defensive guy, but he was basically the recruiter in a way there, not really in Seattle. Or, he was the guy getting the talent basically in Atlanta because he was the head guy. I think other people kind of did that part for him. They just let him coach. At the end of the day, I do think he knows defense. So it would be a pretty it's interesting. It would be, I think, a good move, honestly. A little risky if they did that, I guess, at this stage, but we'll see. From Broncos 2020, Vikings should fire Zimmer. And yeah, that's kind of the sun just keeps randomly coming up. I don't know what's happening right now. That's a hot topic after last night. Zimmer kind of blowing that call where I talked about a lot in the recap video, my thoughts on that, but I think people are kind of looking at it a little bit the wrong way. I can go in on that for like an hour, so I'm not going to go there. But at the end of the day, a lot of people questioning him on his decision to not kick the field goal, to go for it. And he's taking some heat. He should take some heat. I just think people are looking at it the wrong way, like I said. But he's taking some heat this morning. He's taking some bashing. So should they fire him? And I'm going to call it an overreaction. This is kind of a question. Or Vikings should fire. Well, not really a question, but I'm going to call it an overreaction. First off, they're not going to fire him. Second, I think there was so much that went wrong in that game. That's just like one part, and he definitely should take some heat for it. So I don't know. That's why I'm kind of like on the fence. I don't know if you should have a defensive coach like this, in today's NFL. I think you need to find the best offensive guy. So should he be the coach? Should he have been extended? I guess that's another question, but should he be fired right now? No, I don't think so. If you take Zimmer away right now, like, what is that going to do? What is that going to do? It's going to put, I don't know if Kubiak wants to be head coach. He's kind of said that multiple times. So I don't know who would be the head coach. Zimmer has family on the staff as well. It's kind of his staff there. I think the defense takes a hit and everything else basically stays the same, after that. So it's going to do nothing. It's going to do nothing. If we're talking at the end of the year, if they feel that, offense is the name of the game now, the defense is kind of heading south because of the talent, because of where the league's heading, maybe Zimmer isn't the best option. That would kind of make more sense. They did just extend him, though, but I don't think they would be afraid to move on from him after a year. But after the extension, I should say, he's been there for quite a while. But firing him like right now, it's not going to happen, and I think it would be an overreaction there. There was a lot more to it than just Zimmer deciding to pass up on kicking the field goal there on 4th down. There's a lot more to that game. Recap video is up. Dex. Ravens 4-1 here. Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters are the best cornerback duo in NFL history, and it's not close. Interesting because I actually brought this up a few weeks ago that they may just be the best corner duo in NFL history. I brought that up, and I did say may just be or may be. So I didn't say they are. I think people overreacted to what I said or told me I was overreacting. My point, the point I was trying to get across is it's a much different game today. I really can't think of too many. There's been plenty of great cornerback duos, but has there been one that's like that's the best one? That was dominant. I don't know if there's really been that. There's been some really good ones that you definitely can debate, but there actually hasn't been that many great ones. And I think it's harder. I think it's much harder to play corner in today's NFL. With these offenses, how fast they are, the players are getting faster every year. I mean, even look at 10 years ago. You go watch film on those games, it's a totally different game. I think it's much harder to play corner. I think after quarterback, I think it's the second hardest position to play. Especially in that scheme with the Ravens, they run a lot of man. I think man coverage is hard. So, and it's a complete duo. I mean, you got a physical guy, Marlon Humphrey, and you got a playmaker, very good at reading the quarterback, and Marcus Peters. I think you definitely can argue it. I don't know what the answer for this, though. I think it's, in a way, I can answer. I think it's an overreaction coming off the Bengals game because it's the Bengals, and you mainly won off blitzing. So I think it'd be overreaction to say that fresh off that game and say it's not close. I think it's an overreaction. But to think this, I think it's fair. We can't say it's fact or anything, but I think it's fair. It might even be overlooked because people would just it's going to be tough for people to decide that. Marcus Peters hasn't been on the team for that long, I guess, playing with Marlon Humphrey for that long. So I give you multiple answers for this one, but it's definitely an interesting talking point there. Another Ravens one. Buckeye Brown. Almost just said Bucky. Buckeye Brown 03. Mark Andrews is the main reason we consider Lamar a better passing quarterback. Now, after I read that again, because I chose the ones here, I think I know what he means here. I think he's saying Mark Andrews is making Lamar a better passer, and he's making him a better passer than he is. I think that's what he's saying. I definitely think that's an overreaction. I think Lamar can throw. He's had some moments where he struggled a little bit. I mean, every quarterback has. Nobody's claiming he's a Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes passer, but I think he's a really good thrower. Mark Andrews hurts him at times too. You look at the Titans playoff game last year. You look at the game against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, and I think people overreacted from Lamar Jackson's stats in that Chiefs game. It's a little underwhelming. Yeah, he could play a little better. He can do a little more. But he had some big plays left in the field that his targets, like Mark Andrews, didn't help him. Mark Andrews is a really good tight end, but I definitely think it's unfair to say that, if that's what you mean by this. Pretty sure that's what this what Buckeye means by this. So, yeah, I'd definitely say it's an overreaction there. From Noah, the Dolphins can make some noise and sneak into the playoffs. Another tough one, too, because I don't really view the Dolphins as a playoff. Even though they're sneaky, even though they look pretty good at times here, I still don't really view them as a playoff team. AFC's pretty loaded as well. I think Dolphins are still going to have those moments where, yeah, they'll probably lose to a team that maybe they can beat, or they'll lose to a good, it doesn't really matter, and then they can beat a good team. Are they going to be consistent enough? A lot of young players. It's still a new team, so I think those bad moments will still show up, but they've been impressive so far. It's a tough one to answer, though, because they could make some noise and they could sneak into the playoff. I mean, they could. I still think it's I got a lot of multiple answers for these. I think it's fair to think they could, but overall, what the point we're trying to get to, making the playoffs, being a playoff contender, I'm still going to call it an overreaction, especially because during the week, before this last game, I think people were talking about where's Tua, is it Fitzpatrick done, because they were in the Seahawks game and Fitzpatrick really wasn't playing that great. So, given that, I think this is an overreaction if people think this, because you're just so back and forth. You go from one extreme to another. So if this is kind of a talking point, in this, something similar to this, the Dolphins are playoff team, I definitely think it's an overreaction for that reason, just because you're going from one extreme to another here with, people just thinking, oh, it's time for Tua. This was a disaster that week. Oh, wait, no, we're really good. And the next week it's going to be like, oh, no, we suck. And then the next week it's going to be like, we're going to the Super Bowl. I don't know if that's actually happening. But because I do sense some back and forth, and then just fresh off a game, pretty impressive game, but fresh off, it's just one game, So I think it's, and they looked impressive against the Jags too. So I'm not saying one game in terms of the whole year so far, but I do think it's a little bit of an overreaction. But they are a sneaky team, and technically they could sneak in there. AFC got some tough competition there. Miles Sanders stand. Travis Fulgham broke out and will continue to emerge as a top 10 receiver. Interesting one, because Travis Fulgham the last 2 games has looked pretty good, especially this last game against the Steelers. A very good defense. He looked pretty darn good. It's weird that the Lions got rid of him. It's weird that he didn't make the Packers team. I think it's more of, mainly with the Packers, I think it's more of just understanding the kind of the Rodgers offense. So maybe they didn't really feel like it was a good fit. It's weird they would pass on the talent, but that must be it. Because the talent's actually there. He's got really good body control. He can attack the ball. He has the good hands. He's got the length, really good down the sideline. He has the production there the last couple weeks there with the struggling team, with really a struggling quarterback too, and he's kind of helping out big time there. He definitely broke out. I guess there's another two-parter too. He definitely broke out. That goes without saying, so I don't need to pop anything. As a top 10 receiver though, I'm definitely going to say Overreaction. And he seems to be the number one guy for the Eagles as of now. So, he can rack up the production, I suppose, because he seems to be. But they could have other guys coming back, too. Rager may be back at some point, hopefully. So maybe that'll take some away there. But he looks like a fit, looks legit. Top 10 is definitely an overreaction, though. But, yeah, I'm impressed. And he definitely broke out in that game. Next, Sean McDermott, 4-0. Texas' new head coach. Cornell, or whatever his name is, thought that was funny. Romeo Cornell, who's the interim coach for the Texans, taking over, will rebound the Texans to the playoffs. So he kind of is making them a playoff team. That's what we'll base this on here. Is Cornell making them a playoff team now? This is tough because I picked the Texans to go to the playoffs, and I thought they actually can struggle early on. I didn't think that much. And I think when you have Deshaun Watson and some playmakers that they have, and maybe they're a little more motivated, now that Bill O'Brien's out of there, Cornell leading the way. Seems like it's a respectable guy. I think all of that, you definitely have a chance. They did dig themselves a bit of a hole there in the schedule. Doesn't necessarily, the tough 3 games, the first 3 games about as hard as you can get, but the schedule doesn't necessarily get any easier. They definitely could. I'm still going to call it an overreaction. I think they actually have more holes, more needs than I thought going into the season. I think the offensive line, and it could get better, but the offensive line isn't really playing anywhere near that I thought it would play at. Watson's actually not playing, and I think he'll get better, but I don't think Watson's playing where I thought he'd play at. Looking at the defense, and defense in general and I didn't think it was going to be anything special, but it's a little underwhelming. They could rebound. They could figure it out, and they have a chance to make the playoffs. Again, I predicted them to make the playoffs, and I predicted them to start a little slow. Not quite that slow, but it's only a game or 2 difference there, so they could definitely do it. That's a tough one. It's definitely a team that you still can't give up on there, so that one's really tough. Epic Cheetah. Chiefs may not be the best contender in the AFC. It's a good one, too, because you definitely can argue other teams. We got to see the Bills and Titans showdown on Tuesday night. I'm excited for that. That winner of that game could boost up the top of the AFC, in everyone's mind, maybe in the power rankings, but and maybe be the favorite. So you can argue those 2 teams. You can argue the Steelers. You can argue the Ravens still. You can argue different teams for sure. Like, you can make the case, and you don't really, even if somebody doesn't agree, if somebody wants to argue me that the Bills are, maybe I won't agree. I'm not saying I will or won't, but maybe it was just example. Maybe I won't agree, but you can still make the case for a legitimate argument there. But I do think it's overreaction to think that they're not. They still are the best contend. They still are the contender of the AFC, in my opinion. There's other contenders right there with them. There's other matchups that are good against the Chiefs, bad against the Chiefs. Anything can happen there because there's plenty of good AFC teams. I think the Chiefs are still a good team. I think the Raiders had a pretty good game plan for them. I think they had a little hiccup on the defense there. Mahomes' interception, kind of uncharacteristic. Don't expect to play like that a whole bunch. It's a dominant team. I actually didn't. I wasn't. Even though the offense was fine, this wasn't really a main reason why they lost. But they might have experimented with some things, or hell, I don't know. The play calling could have been a little better in that game. Talked about in the recap. But I'm not worried about that. I know in a bigger game they're more capable. They have the talent. They can spread the field. They're fast. I know the defense is better than that too. I think the Raiders had a pretty good game plan for them. So I'm still going to call the Chiefs kind of that main contender. You can debate it, but I think it's an overreaction to say they're just not anymore. Colts from DeQuanta Clark here. Colts should bench Phillip Rivers and trade for Sam Darnold. I see this brought up a lot. I've seen mainly bench Phillip Rivers. I see a lot of people talk about Sam Darnold. I see a few people talking about Haskins. I don't think Colts fans want him, or maybe they do. I don't know, but I've seen that a little bit. I've seen some people talk about Eason. I liked Eason pre-draft, and I've heard good things about him so far. But if you put him in right now, it's not going to be much different. I don't think it's going to be better either. I think it's not going to be much different. Eason, kind of a raw prospect, has a ways to go. I do really like his upside. His arm talent's ridiculous. I think he was really, really good in the beginning of last year. I kind of broke that down a lot in the past, but I like Eason for the future. And they have Brissett as well. That's another option as well. But yeah, if Eason was in, which I don't think is an option right now, I think there'll be turnovers. He would turn the ball over a bit right away. So, but the question here is, I guess it's two. Bench Phillip Rivers, trade for Sam Darnold. I'm not a big Sam Darnold guy. I wouldn't trade for him. I mean, if it's really cheap, then okay, but I don't think it's going to be really cheap. I think there might be a problem on why a deal might not get done, where the Jets, what they ask for and what teams are willing to give up. I think there'd be quite the difference there. But we'll see. Who knows? But so I wouldn't go for that. The Colts actually could be interested in that. Phillip Rivers just turned the ball over too much right now. He's turning the ball over. So, but to answer this, I guess it's a two-parter. Well, not really. I think it kind of goes. I'm going to say it's an overreaction. To bench Phillip Rivers in general, I think it's an overreaction. Even though I don't know if I believe he's the guy to get them where they want to be this year. I don't know if Brissett's the guy. You're kind of going back to last year. You were supposed to be better this year because of Rivers. Like I said, Eason, not the guy. Trade for Sam Darnold. I mean, if you do trade for Sam Darnold, I don't think they're going to plug him in right away either. I think it's going to take some time. I think it's an overreaction. They were looking good. Now they just lost a game here against a good Browns team. Rivers can't make the mistake. It's a tough one because I'm not a Rivers fan at the moment. I have been in the past, but the last couple of years I'm not a fan of his play. The Colts can make some noise. They can get in the playoffs, but I don't think Rivers is the guy to get them where everyone has the same goal when it's all said and done. He's definitely not the guy to get them there, but do they have that guy in the roster? I don't think so. And trading for a guy right now, I think, is a bit of an overreaction, fresh off just one loss. That's interesting, though, because I do think Rivers kind of held him back in that Browns game. Definitely interesting. Next from Tony Benz, the Washington football team needs to trade Haskins to salvage something from him. Interesting one, too, because it's not at this point, it's not like a situation where you better get something out of nothing, because it's not like he's a free agent. He's not necessarily saying that either, but it's not like he's a free agent right now. But I think his point is, I think he has more value right now. You could argue that, I guess. I think he has more value right now than if he just sits around forever, or right before he's going to be a free agent in a few years. So I think you can actually get more value now. You can get something in return. I would say this is, I was about to say fact, but I'm going to say fair. The reason I don't say fact is because, they could make a mistake by trading Haskins, because he actually could be the best future option there. You could argue that. Could be Kyle Allen, even could be Alex Smith. But Haskins could be. It could be a mistake. You could be pulling the trigger a little early because there's still some needs in the team. The receivers aren't there. The offensive line isn't there. You could get better there. Haskins could be better. He has a small sample size of play there. He's had some mistakes, so that could be a mistake. But it just feels like this staff isn't in on him. At the end of the day, so I'm kind of on board where they probably should trade him. I think they can get something. I think like a team like the Steelers, the Colts, one of those teams could trade. I don't really know. They have, the other teams have so much leverage in this where I don't know if they'll be able to get that much in return. That's kind of the question. It'd be tough to think about what they can get. Fourth round at the most maybe. And it's going to hurt a little bit. This staff didn't just draft him, but he was just drafted pretty early. So that's tough. But at the end of the day, it feels like the staff is just not in on him. It felt like that even when they came in there. So they definitely need to put him on the block just to see what they can get. They can't get lowballed. I would just rather just hang on to him if they're lowballed offer. But I think other teams will be interested there. Very interesting. Last one, Jacoby. He's in the Discord, so he got to me with this one pretty early here. Discord access to the Patreon, much more there. The AFC North has 3 playoff teams. They have 3 teams that are very, very key. They feel like playoff teams right now, or they definitely could make the playoffs even. And I'm gonna say it's fact. I hate putting that fact up there because that kind of makes it sound like I think 3 teams are for sure making the playoffs from the AFC North. I'm not really saying that, but I guess if we're talking about three teams that are capable of being a playoff team, we'll call it, and I'll say that's actually a fact. I almost put overlooked because I don't think people are realizing that three teams from one division. I don't think they're really realizing that that's a realistic possibility. But when it's all said and done, I think most people realize that those teams, if you look at each team by itself, are playoff teams. So I do think it's a fact. I don't think those teams are definitely. I think we're all certain that the Ravens and the Steelers are, and now the way we see the Browns playing, we're pretty confident in that. And the Browns play the Steelers coming up too, so looking forward to that. But yeah, those teams are playing. There's a lot of company in the AFC to compete for that, but I think those teams are definitely playoff teams right at the moment. I'm not really predicting here. Do all three teams make it? Right now, it kind of looks like it, but it's a strong possibility, but way too early. But at the end of the day, they look like it. Ravens are playing great on both sides of the ball. Steelers playing great on both sides of the ball. The Browns are playing fantastic on offense and a little better than expected on defense. Actually. But, the new coach, Fancy, really working out, really throwing some teams off there for sure. So I like what I see there as well. But, AFC North looks loaded. There's some divisions that are just, really good, really, really good. And there's some that are just terrible. Kind of weird. But it looks like that's going to do it for this one. If you want to play along with these types of videos, follow our Twitter link down below. Always talking during live games, always talking even when there's not a live game, talking football. Keeping you updated on the channel. Plenty of predictions, power ranking, score predictions, plenty more on the channel, plenty more to come. Please subscribe, turn notifications on, smash that like button if you enjoyed. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.